confidently. We have an incredible continuation of today's family relationships, family ties, family dynamics discussion. I have some questions that have been generated by me in my brain, and I want your questions as well, because that's how we fill in all the blanks, right? So, audience, as you're listening, as you're participating, as these come to you, please feel confident that this is an open door. We are not coming forth with a judgment to say this question is too entry level. There's no too entry level question. We are all on this process and in this journey together. So everyone, please feel free to chime in the chat. You can introduce yourselves as well. As we reveal our panelists for today, I just want everyone to know that we will be speaking as openly, as vulnerably, and with the access that is being so graciously permitted by these panelists. And we're going to hold that with respect. We're going to hold that with safety and ensure that we're leading with compassion today. Okay, that's what's needed when we have these harder conversations, and so often what's missing. So without further ado, we're going to reveal everyone who's joining us. First of all, Selena is sticking around for the panel. Thank you, Selena. I'm so happy to have you here. One thing I'm going to ask everyone as I reveal them one by one is they're going to let us know how long they've been involved in the adult industry and what their function is within it. You're a performer, you're a creator, you're a director, whatever it might be. Let us know the function that you exist within. And just for fun, if you were a spice in the spice rack of the kitchen, what spice would you be? It's a personality one. Selena, we're going to start with you.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, well, the obvious things. My name is Selena. I also go by Fairy or Fairy Sex Mother. I am a sex therapist, but if you go with Fairy, she is a content creator and a cam model. What spice would I be? See, I'm not spicy, so I wouldn't be paprika or cayenne pepper, but I'm not salty. I'll be cinnamon. I would be cinnamon. Like I'm really sweet and I'm really nice and I go good with every pastry. But if you take too much of me or if you do too much to me, because I'm also a Virgo, so if you do too much to me, then you're gonna die. No, no extraness, but yeah, for sure that.
I love it. I love getting these totally random personality questions in on it. Let's reveal the fabulous Lotus Lain. Lotus, thank you for being with us today. Please do let us know how long you've been in the biz, what you do in the biz, and what spice you would be.
Hey, okay, I hope you guys can hear me. I don't see my square on the screen anywhere. I don't know what's going on with my Zoom. Anyway, hi, I'm Lotus Lane. My pronouns are she and her. Um, I've been in the industry since 2012, so like 12 years. I'm loving it. I feel I feel like my spice would be cayenne pepper because it's actually one of the spices that I consume daily. I drink a ginger, cayenne, lemon pepper drink every morning. So, yeah, I'm spicy and I'm good for your gut.
And cayenne is like a fearless addition, and there is a fearlessness about Lotus Lane. Okay, so
You,
there's a
please.
fearlessness in cayenne and honey. Good choice there. We're going to reveal the fabulous Reagan Foxx. Thank you for being with us today. Let everyone know what you do in the biz, how long you've been doing it, and what spice you might be.
Oh, uh, hi everyone. Reagan Foxx. Good to see you again. Um, okay. I started camming, I think 2010, 2011, and now I'm a porn person, adult film star, I guess you'd say. As far as spice, I'm an Aries. However, I like to kind of think that I'm the glue. I don't want to be too fiery, and I'm really kind of laid back and chill. So whatever, I mean, flour's not a spice, but I'm so, I don't know. I'm something. I'm just chill until I'm not. Okay.
That's an
Mm,
Aries with the explosive energy that we have, right? It can
yeah.
be real useful, but then it can also have its boiling point. I'm also an Aries. I feel you on that.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for being here. Panelists, please keep your cameras on after the announcement. We want to see you. We want you in on this. Of course, our final addition to this panel, Demora, thank you so much for being with us. Let us know a little about yourself, how long you've been in the biz, and what spice you might be.
Hey everyone, I'm Demora Avarice. Excuse the crazy eye. I had my allergy shots and they're a little angry. Um, so they're watering, but I'm good, I promise. I started out in breast expansion doing the fetish side in 2017 and then just sort of steamrolled from there. Now I still do a little giant test stuff and things of that sort, but I do some camming and then I just sort of, I don't know, I just sort of do a mix of everything. Um, I don't use a whole lot of spices. I think um, probably Saison because it has, sorry, my eyeball, it has a little bit of a kick to it, but not so much that it's just overbearing, overpowering. So I would say that I like to bring a little bit of fun to it, but still have that good flavor.
Hell yeah. I love it. All of you who may not know me, I'm your host of this summit. I'm Laura Desiree. I'm a content creator, intimacy coordinator for film and TV. I currently work on a live sex show called Sanctum. And goodness, I've been in the biz for maybe 10 years now, with all years in. If I was a spice, I've had a lot of time to think about it because I also came up with this question, right? Being the sentimental, romantic overload person that I am, I'm thinking nutmeg, right? You get a little nutmeg in anything and you just feel like, is it the holidays? Oh, I'm gonna get weepy. Oh, put it in my drink. Do this, do that. I'm a huge romantic. I'm going with nutmeg. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Panelists, this is going to be a lot of fun. I've got some questions. As you're answering them, if a story comes to mind, please feel free to divulge. I do want to be mindful of time, so I'm going to try not to interject. But if there is a moment that I do need to step in, please understand that it's only so that we can get everyone's answers in within the time we're allotted. We have just over an hour to talk, so at the end of the hour, don't feel you have to rush yourself. I will wrap us up when we need to. The first question we're kicking off with today, it's a big one. How did you approach the conversation with your family about the work that you do? And we'll tack on any advice you have for people. But please take your time with relaying these stories, as I know they can be emotional in the retelling. Lotus, let's start with you.
Hey, so for me, I did not get the opportunity to come out to my parents on my own. I was outed. And then they had to come to me with panic and what did we do wrong questions and all of that. And for me, it was really more of reframing their hysteria, their panic around what did you do right that feel confident enough to take on something so challenging and still be able to flourish within it. Um, so it did not, much like you, Laura, the change was not overnight. They had to sit with it. There was still a bunch of questions afterwards. And of course, people of that generation, they come from a mindset where, it's all exploitative, it's all coercive, it's all forced. So there was a lot of explaining how I came to this decision myself. There's not someone behind me, manipulating me or anything like that. Being that I started in 2012 now, everything is understood and if anything, it's opened up our relationship with me and my parents to where we can talk about a lot more topics in depth, without shame. For instance, even abortion or things like that may come up. Me and my mom probably wouldn't have had such real conversations around it if she didn't know my history with sex work. But beyond that, with my kid, who is a teenager now, I started that conversation when they were 10. like Selena was saying, I did not want my kid to be one of those kids on the playground where people were talking behind their back, or maybe shoving a phone in their face and being like, look, is this your mom? I just never wanted that to happen. And thankfully it never has. But I wanted them to know the lifestyle that they live was created from this. There's no shame in it. The person that they see every day, every morning, taking them to school with a smile on their face, that's me because of this, not despite of or in spite of anything else. So you really do shape your children's mind because they're your children. So for me, it was easier in that sense, because if I raised my child with a bunch of stereotyping and things like that, then obviously they wouldn't accept me. But I raised them to be accepting and loving and open to different types of people. So it just came very naturally that it wasn't a big deal for them. And I remember at 10, they said, Mom, it's not a big deal unless you make it one. And I was so thrown back by their honesty and them checking me in that moment, because I felt I was going too deep into the explanation of like and trying to rationalize things, and they're like, Mom, it's cool. I'm good. So yeah, lead with the openness and the love that you want to receive, and if it doesn't come right away, eventually, if you just keep that in your heart, people will see you for who you are, how you're thriving, how you're flourishing.
Autonomous sex work. It's a hard thing for people to grasp, right?
Yeah, it is.
I actually just remembered the first words out of my dad's mouth when I told him what I do. He said, I really hope you don't have a pimp. And I thought, my gosh, isn't that just
Yeah,
the misunderstanding of what this industry is, right? And now
yeah.
I'm at a place where if there's a sex work article in any goddamn publication in the world, he forwards it to me. Mind you, it's like 3 months after it was ever out anywhere, because that's,
Right. Yeah, my mom wants to talk to me about the SVU episode with the dominatrix and things like that.
there you go. I'm going to turn it over to Reagan. Please tell us your story of this reveal to family.
I also, can you all hear me okay? Yes, okay. I also was outed. I did not have a chance to tell my parents or my children. And there are two different separate situations for that. Um, so my children I have three children, and they age from 11-year difference of each other. So I have a child in every elementary, middle, and high school. And it actually was the elementary children that notified my daughter. And so we had to go through that through the school system and to make sure that the kids were okay. But as far as my family, my mother and father, I was outed by someone within the cam world as I stepped into the porn world. And we did not speak for probably 7, 8 years. He might text once a year, how are you doing? I miss you. I hope you're okay. And it honestly wasn't until COVID, where they got very sick, that then he reached back out, and we've been able to slowly make amends for that. But it is very difficult. I was raised in a very strict family, Christian upbringing, only child, very close with my father. So it was devastating. And it is something that when I listened to the presentation with Selena before, so many points hit about having healthy boundaries are so important, to have that open communication. And because I couldn't have that with my parents, I have absolutely turned that into my children. And so there is a very, very healthy relationship with my children. My children know what I do. And although they may not want to hear about it, especially when they were younger, they didn't want to hear anything, now we're able to have those open conversations. And when I won an award many years ago, and I reached out to them and said, hey, your mom won this award, all three of them were so proud of you. Thank you for doing what you do. And I wanted to post everything, but that was a private moment for myself. And some people wouldn't understand that my children absolutely know that what I do is for them. And I think that makes us stronger, makes us stronger.
Thank you for that openness. It brings to mind that it is one of the most heinous acts that we are vulnerable to be doxxed, to be taken that opportunity from us to tell our story to our loved ones ourselves. And my goodness, that triumph at the end, however, that triumph of having that realization with your children and having that moment of celebration. I'm so happy to hear that, and I hope that others, like I said, as you're listening to these stories, everyone, please, if there's questions that you have along the way, we will be, open to answering some of those as well. Just very, very grateful to be with all of you right now. Demora, I would love your thoughts, your own story in this.
So, I have 5 kids between the ages of 4 and 16, one of which is a girl. She's hateful. But so our kids do know an age appropriate level. Um, Whenever I was doing the fetish side, sorry, I'm still trying to wipe the tears away. Whenever I was doing the fetish side, whenever I was first started, I was the CNA and I got doxxed at work. And at that point, Grieve was in law school, so we were several hours away from our family, and that's what ended up pushing me to just be like, you know what, I'm gonna, I'm just gonna tell him. So I, my parents are divorced. Um, Good situation, best thing they ever could have done for us. Um, but I went up to my dad and I was like, I need to talk to you, and he was like, okay. And I'm like, I do breast expansion. And he was like, what was that? And I was like, so it's imagine balloons under your shirt growing, and you're like, oh my God, your boobs are growing, but they're not actually growing. And he was like, I don't want to think about that. I'm like, I agree. However, I am being honest. And he was like, I appreciate your honesty. And he was like, I don't want to know specifics about your work, but I do have 3 questions. I was like, okay. He said, are you happy? Are you safe? And is it legal? Like paying taxes and, all of that stuff. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, and this is something that makes you happy. It's not like a grieve thing. And I'm like, no, this is something that we do together, but this is something that I truly do enjoy. He was like, then I'm happy for you. Let me know what I can do to help if you need me to help watch the kids and stuff. Um, because he would help watch the kids. Like if we had like a big custom or something, because 5 kids in the house, it's hard to be able to record anything. And especially first starting, we were like, I have a phone. And so, like, it was bare minimum stuff. Um, but luckily, um, I was way more worried about how my family was going to react than actually happened. My family was actually very supportive, and I'm blessed for that. My mom and I, we're a lot alike, so we've never really gotten along, that button heads thing. But she's actually she was in the army, and she was deployed, and she had messaged me and was like, what is your YouTube channel? Because there's this lady that's talking about getting breast reduction, and I told her my daughter's making money off her titties. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe this just happened. But like she just took it and ran with it. And honestly, it's brought us a lot closer, which I did not expect. As far as the kids, like I said, they know an age appropriate level of what I do. Um, our 4-year old, obviously, he knows that mommy helps people whenever they have hurricane brain. Because that's what we call it whenever like the depression, anxiety, all that stuff. We call it hurricane brain because that's that's what my 9-year old psychologist had always introduced it to us as. Um, but that's a whole different story. And then the 9-year old and 10-year old know that I am a body positivity model, and I try to help people reduce the stigma. I try to reduce the stigma around mental health and plastic surgery because obviously they know I've had surgery, but they also know that the mommy before and the mommy now are 2 completely different people because my level of depression before was, it was scary. Like everything was a blur for like 3 years. So they do know that yes, I had surgery and like, but it wasn't just so that I can, look different. It's so that I can be comfortable in my skin. And then our oldest two, they obviously, our 16-year-old actually had somebody was like, "Is this your mom?" with me playing pool on TikTok. And he was like, "Nope." And they were like, "It looks just like her." He was like, "You ever heard of a damn doppelganger? Shut the fuck up and leave me alone." And I'm like, I have never been more proud in my life. Like, take it as you go. If you want to admit it, admit it. If you don't, I'm right there behind you. Like that's how our family is. Um, they are older too, like make jokes about like the way I look and stuff. Like, "Mom, you got to stop knocking me over with your boobs. Mom, you're knocking stuff over with your butt." Like things like that. But they know that it's more of like a joking situation, because we're a very open kind of family. Like, obviously, I'm not talking to them about sex and things that I do. Granted, we're monogamous, but like we've always been, you know if you need condoms, if you have questions, let us know even before this work, because that's the way that Grieve was raised. And I was raised more sheltered, but I agree more with the way that he was raised. So we've just sort of been able to make it our own. And um, I think the last part was asking, or like any, um, not recommendations, but you know what I mean.
Advice.
Um, I would say don't overthink it. Like, as long as you're comfortable and you're happy and you're safe and you're doing what you enjoy doing, if people like it, they like it. If they don't, then they don't. But as long as you're happy, your family's happy, and everybody's safe, everybody's gonna have their everybody's gonna have their opinions. And yes, don't ever explain it either. That's a good one too, Lotus. Sorry.
Hurricane brain, I gotta say. That's I'm using that one. I might brand a couple of hoodies with it. I might make it a tagline moving forward. I know hurricane brain. Now I do. My God, Demora, thank you so much. Selena, I would love, of course, the opportunity for your story, but this has come up now, and I want your thoughts on how an individual that exists in this industry might navigate, endure, and heal in a situation of being doxxed. And doxing, for those of you, is when your work in sex work or in any hidden work has been revealed to the public or to your direct family members without your consent. That's doxing, right? So that's someone getting ahead of you, making any connection to this aspect of your life and the way that you earn money. So Selena, if there's any thoughts you have on that as well.
My first thought would be, why does it affect you? Does it is it, are you upset about being doxxed because you weren't in control of it? Or is it because of the content that's being shown? Because in reality, when we do our work, we are happy, hopefully, when we do the things that we're doing and it's on camera, screens, or whatever. But then when it's shown to other people without your consent, where in your body do you feel the most uncomfortable? Because that's the part that you need to hone in and try to heal that part of you, so that way when you have that conversation with whoever, it's coming from a place of, I feel like this, and this is why I'm doing it, instead of it being, well, why did you expose me like that? Because why you gotta do all that? And now you're just being extra defensive, which is not really helping the situation, is more so catering to the idea of, well, why were you being so secretive in the first place? You could have just told me, you could have just said something. So kind of figure out what about it made you angry, because it also could have been the person who exposed you. It could have been, like some of you guys said, your children's, not coworkers, your children's classmates, or their friends. Because first of all, my biggest thing would be to my child, if their friend is showing them me on the internet, why are you looking at porn? The sites clearly say I am 18 years or older, so you lied. So now there's that conversation. So there's other layers that can be addressed before just instantly coming off the bat of saying, I'm upset, I'm angry that I've been doxxed. Now that we've recognized why we are angry about being doxxed, try to find a way to have a calm conversation and keep yourself calm, because again, when you are doxxed, that's taking power away from you. You have to immediately find a way to get your power back, because the second that you give it to other people, they now have control over your emotions, over your energy, over who you are. And you can't allow others to have power over you, because then you start to lose yourself within it all. So try to, even when it does happen, you don't necessarily have to respond that moment. Because just like Laura said, her dad had a moment where he needed time to like accept it. You may need time to figure out, well, what your response is going to be. Take that time to really sit down and, get your power back. If you got to cry, scream, yell, and you're upset because you just got exposed, basically, do that. But don't do it to where you're letting the hater see your weakness, because when they see your weakness, they're going to start to hone in on it and tap on it, and when they do that, you're giving them way too much power. And in this industry, sex work is powerful, so it's no reason for you to have all this power, all this energy, all this beauty that you've created now be tarnished and diminished because someone want to be petty, spiteful, or just be lame at the end of the day. So kind of, that's just my two biggest things, is figure out why it's affecting you, and then try to gain your power back by controlling and navigating the conversation when you're in the right headspace.
Thank you, Selena. Demora, I see your hand up, and we'll be right there with you. I am inspired to share that one of the great sayings that we have in intimacy coordination is that urgency is the death of agency. And it's something I go back to and I think about. And we're so in a culture of being urgent to reply and make a decision. We don't want to lose ourselves in that pressure. So, with urgency being the death of agency, you have to grant yourself that patience and that time to process. Demora, I saw your hand.
Sorry, I couldn't get the mouse scooted over. So just the way that Selena had explained the doxing situation, the way that I took my power back, and the way that I even still yet, like if I'm at the store and stuff and I hear people talking, I'm like, yeah, they're big. It's okay. If you have questions, I'm an open book. But whenever I was doxing a lot more shy and a lot more new, I just took the wind out from under him. I'm like, yeah, you want to see? This is my favorite one right here. Like, turn it into a positive and be like, yeah, it happens. If you have questions, I'm an open book. I'm happy to help. And honestly, that has turned a lot of negativity into a bunch of positivity, especially whenever it's just randomly like at a restaurant, at the store, things like that, especially with my kids, because I want them to see, you know what, that person's talking. Give me just 1 second. You stay here with dad, and I'm going to go say hi to them real quick, because people have questions and it's good to ask questions. And I want to be able to answer if I can. And then they see it turn from, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to explain. I'm happy to tell you my story. If you have questions, let me know. And then they come back, I come back, and they're like, that was crazy. You just went up and talked to them. I'm like, they were talking about me, so why can't I go talk to them? Like, so that was my way. That's been my best way to turn that into a positive.
Thank you for that. Before we get to this next question, I don't want to miss that hand I saw, Selena. You got anything else for us, my love?
I was also going to say, you can also always turn it into a marketing scheme, as long as it's with adults, of course. Um, if you see an adult trying to like, oh, well, this is you. Yes, it is. And I see that you did not pay for it. $5.99. I accept Apple Pay. I accept Cash App, Venmo. I also have even better ones, but you can follow me at, you can always turn a negative, like Demora said, turn a negative into a positive, and you also make money from it. At the end of the day, we make our own schedules and we create our own money. So if you see someone trying to look at your free content and try to use it against you, and it's like, oh, well, that scene on my website is actually $15, and you're showing me the free version, that'll be 20. Like, make them feel, not necessarily saying make them feel uncomfortable, but make them realize that you are so confident in yourself that what they're saying to you doesn't really affect you. And that was really it.
And it's a profession. This is a business, and these are transactional opportunities here. Hello, I love that. Our next one is it feels like a basic. It comes up a lot when we do panels about just navigating this industry with success. But I would love some of your specifics with how you strike that balance between work and family life, whether you do have obligations as a parent or whether we're talking about the way you keep connections alive with your direct family, that balance. How do you keep it in check? I'm going to start with Reagan.
Okay, how do I keep it in balance? That's a really good question. Because when I started porn and I live in Arizona, I would travel to, LA, and I could be gone 3 weeks out of the month. So it's very different now that I don't work as much. I only try to be gone at least 1 week a month or so forth. Um, so how I navigated it was when I came home, I didn't touch my phone. I don't touch my phone. I don't take a lot of pictures. My phone will sit by my bed. I'm 1,000% with my children, and they know it. And I think it's made me a better parent for that. So I might be a little different because I live out of state, and so therefore I can turn it off. I can turn off social media. I can have someone else do some posting or whatever for me for that day. Um, just to take a break and to revisit and reconnect with my family.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that direct discipline of saying when I'm on this side of my life, you can't access me. You can't touch me. My blinders are on and I am so focused on this part of my life. Lotus, I'm going to turn it to you. How do you strike that balance?
Hey, for me, I feel because I have one teenager, it's a little bit easier. They don't wake up early. I wake up early so I can, you know, get on social media or update things very early before I have to take them to school. And then when they're at school, the whole place is mine to do content creation or camming or responding, whatever it is. And then the time they're home, I'm dedicated to them. We can make lunch together, or dinner together. I can pick them up every day after school. So a lot of the balance is already kind of built into the way this work is made. Of course, days when I'm on set or if I have to be out of town away somewhere, I'm grateful that my mom and I have a good relationship. And she's retired, to where she could just be here with my kids. When I have to be away. And especially now being 12 years in, my mom knows automatically every January, you're on the clock, woman. Need you for convention season. And she's happy to do that. So yeah, the balance, it does come with time. You'll figure out your ebbs and flows of where your energy is, where you feel the most sexiest. Sometimes it's just right after you get out of the shower, or right before you go to bed. Whatever it is, you determine where that is, and then the other free times you have, like, really focus in on whether it's your kid, your partner, your extended family. um then you have time for it.
I love that. And Demora, we know it can be all consuming. It's often said that to do well in this business, you got to be at it nonstop. So talk to us about striking that balance and how you put up those boundaries for both family and work time.
So I right now I am sort of duking it out with conventions. Um, I I've been doing a lot of conventions lately, and that is something that I'm pulling back from because that was something that was necessary in that point. I try to only be gone one weekend. Like it's usually about 4 days because of travel there, travel back, and then 3 days on the floor. Um, for 5 days, depending on if we're driving or not. So I try, if I'm doing conventions, I try to just do one a month. Sometimes I do have two. Um, when we can, Grieve will stay home. And so at that way they're still there. But if not, then they usually say well, they've got a whole routine with my mother-in-law for school time and stuff. Um, whenever I um, whenever I'm home, we try to get everything to where it's just scheduled out So at that way, I'm not having to post every day. I'm not having to, you know, be on social media and doing that. Yes, I do. I do like the bathroom. Okay, like I'm gonna go pee real fast and answer a couple of messages, or like um, with my OnlyFans, I generally respond once a day. Like there's other platforms that I do respond more often, but that one is more my casual one, and that's you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. And if you don't like it, I will recommend you to several friends that will respond 78 times a day. They'll spend 12 hours responding to just you. And I'm like, I'm that person. I am all for sharing the wealth. But whenever the kids have their Christmas concerts this evening. So I make sure that I'm like, okay, I can do this while they're at school. But after school, we do homework, we do Christmas concerts, we do karate, we do gymnastics, we do cheerleading, we do all the things. And I try to be able to be there, even if it's just watching the practice, so that that way they know. And whenever I'm there, I might be taking pictures, but I'm taking pictures of them. And I'm like, look how awesome you did this roundhouse kick. Like, and I try to, say something specific about what they did so that they know, oh my gosh, mom really was paying attention. She just wasn't working. So that's the best way that I've come up with. I'm still definitely honing it in, because we have a lot of kids. And then working during school days, but there's doctor's appointments, there's everything else. So I'm just sort of like, ta-da. I did the best I could. And I hope that whenever it comes down to it, they understand that mama tried. Give me some grace.
Hell yeah, mama's working at it. I love that. One of the things as a workaholic myself, and I have burned myself down 1,000 times doing this, something that I've started implementing is I use a Google Calendar. I'm very new to it, but I actually at the start of my week block out social time. I block it out. And whether or not it gets used for socializing, it's time that's blocked out, that's untouchable to anyone else, to anything else. And if I get to utilize that time for just me, I get to utilize it for just me. If I get to utilize it for a date or a partner or a friend, that time is saved already. So that might be a useful method for you. Maybe, prioritizing that, knowing that you have a tendency to burn yourself down. Maybe you're a workaholic too. That's been incredibly useful to me. Selena, I would love to hear from you about striking that balance. What are some methods?
My situation is a little different because I do not have kids. However, I am the black sheep of my family, but I'm the black sheep that everybody wants around because I'm fun and I'm lively, but I'm also very get out my face. I don't want to talk about that. So like let's not do that. I just set my boundaries. My family knows when I come around, don't have the conversation if you don't want the honest answer. So, like you guys said earlier, your family will send you articles about different topics. They know not to send me the article because if it's about a general topic, if it's about gender dysmorphia or body images or whatever the case may be, I'm an advocate. I stand for people doing whatever they want to do for their bodies, their mind, and their spirit, whereas my family is not. So I set that boundary where if you don't want to talk about it with me, don't bring it up to me. Because if you're not ready for my answer or my response, then don't be here for it. I might hurt your feelings. So I'm just one of those people in my family's life where they just know, like, if we're not ready to have that conversation with Selena, or if we're not ready to learn more so, then we're not going to discuss it. If we just want to be biased and stuck in our ways, then we'll stay over there. But if they want to learn something, then, come to me and open me with open arms. And here I am to give you all the education as much as I have. So that's just my little 2 cents about it. I just stay true to my boundaries by saying like don't discuss it unless you want my honest answer because I don't sugarcoat for my family. They just no. They don't need that.
I love we're on day 2 of this summit, right? And I'm noticing an overarching theme that is just stringing its way through each of these intentional conversations. And it seems to be boundaries. Boundaries keeps coming up, right? Like in these relational dynamics, it's like boundary, boundary, boundary. So I hope all of you in the audience, you're also kind of drilling that into your mind as something that we should be prioritizing and being inquisitive with ourselves about as we move into a new year, as we move into a new opportunity, which is every single morning that we wake up and grace the world. Boundaries continues to come up. This is a really, this question is, it's fun and it's loving and it's beautiful and it's so dear. I want to talk about chosen family. I'm going to start with you, Lotus. The importance of chosen family. How do you find those people? How do you maintain and nurture those relationships in your life? Tell us about the importance of them.
Yeah, found family, is that what we're calling it? I kind of blanked for a second. Found family. Um, I have several pockets of found family. Some are in the industry based, some are specifically not industry based, because I also recognize that if your whole world is adult industry, sex world, it is so consuming that you can lose yourself in that way too. So there's people of my chosen found family. There we go. um, that are just like friends that I'm really into yoga. So they're the people that, are really into fitness and stuff. And we talk and we talk about other things that's going on in our lives. My other friends that are just parents, that's who I can debrief with about teenager issues, or they can talk to me about their toddler issues, and we can just, connect. You have to know who you are as a full person, because as I'm saying this, I'm realizing, oh, it's like all the things that I'm into. Those are my different chosen family groups: yoga, being a mom, being a Black woman, being a queer woman. I have my lesbian homegirls that I'm going to friends miss this weekend. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, just putting yourself out there, taking those opportunities when someone that you may not realize is a close friend, maybe they're just an associate that you send a branch like, hey, I'm doing this thing. You want to come? And then you just get closer instead of always choosing to be with group that take those chances on people that may be inviting you to a thing that you don't go to, that you didn't ever hear about, but their invitation is from the heart. With that said, going I'm getting closer to a friend of mine, Ashley Manta, from the same, like, we've known each other for 8 years. She's a sex educator, which again, it's adjacent to the sex industry, but she's not an adult performer. But she started inviting me to her events, and we just started getting closer. Now we're going on a trip together at the beginning of the year. So it's like those kinds of things, the chosen family, I find, blossoms out of moments, kind of like when you're looking for your real love, like when you're looking for it, when you least suspect it, these friendships, and you're like, wow, we are so close. How long have we known each other? It's been 8 years. And then before you know it, you're, getting fake married out of trouble and lots of, and just have these memories and these moments to share. But yeah, I really think, like, sometimes if you get too into yourself, into the protection of yourself, and not wanting to be taken advantage of and hurt, you can kind of miss out on opportunities with new friends and associates that could turn into real family.
Lotus, such incredible insight there. Like, I want this audience to really hear that message about not falling or surrendering into a mindset of the world is against me and I am not
Yeah,
available to these other experiences. I have to be on the defensive the entire time. We
yeah.
know how damaging, hang on, there's a party bus going by. We know how damaging that can be. And there's a red light, so he's going to be here for a minute. But a wonderful activity even that you propose to us, which is the idea of taking inventory of all of the aspects of our personality that are beyond sex work. Who are
Yeah,
we beyond that? And
yeah,
are there connections and friendships to make and to have that exist in those realms so that we
yeah,
feel whole and that we feel multifaceted as we are? I'm going
yeah.
to turn it over to Demora and mute the hell out of this. Demora, if you could let us know about chosen family.
For what it's worth, I couldn't hear very much of the party bus. um, I'm from a very, very small town, so most of the people that I consider friends, I've been friends with since elementary, middle, high school. Um, I have had several people that, just like Lotus was talking, it was like, oh my gosh, you know, we weren't friends, like we just became friends in adulthood, and it was like how we, like, it feels like forever. But then something with that person and also my cousin, they just sort of, I guess, I don't know if it's a jealousy thing or if it's just like taking a step back. So I'm an overthinker and I have anxiety, and I'm like, what did I do wrong? So I'm in the process of sort of working through my hurricane brain with that. Um, because it does hurt whenever you have friends that, you know, are like, oh, well, it's not a big deal. So, but that's a different topic. It's just, a lot of my friends that I do talk to have come from things, a lot of it revolves around my kids. I'm still very much working on finding me, which is what my whole plastic surgery journey has been about. So I am still working on this. And Lotus, I have taken so much information from what you said because it truly does mean a lot. And I'm like, okay, find me. Like, I don't have my pen, so I'm like mentally taking notes. But yeah, so that's something that I am still working on.
And that's the beauty of having a panel of so many individuals. You know, we all have different experiences, and that's what we're here to relay, is that experience of our own lives. Reagan, I want to talk to you about chosen family, and let's even include how challenging that can be when you are a parent as well.
Okay. Um, I have a very small circle of friends. I mean, I have designed it that way throughout the years. I don't really, I don't like to put up with a lot of bullshit, I guess, and drama is not my thing at all. So, uh, the friends that I have, I would say mainly are within the industry because I've been in the industry since 2010, 11. And so they are friendships that I have built along the way. I do have friends from the swinger world where I come from originally before I started into all of this. Um, and yes, although we may not always agree, and a lot of times we don't agree on the hot topics of today's world, there's still, I feel safe. And that's something I always look for when I would go to parties in the swinger area is I wanted to see who I felt comfortable with and safe with. Um, uh, and whether I guess that's my chosen family because my group is so small and I'm so protective. And I've had to be because of having raising children that are now young adults in this industry. I have kept everything really locked in. Um, so I may not really be great on this one, but my chosen family is extremely small. We don't always agree, but I know that we can always have we cannot talk for a couple of months, and when we do, it just feels like it was yesterday, and that's really important.
Remember, we're not on this panel because we are the authority in any of this whatsoever. This is us relaying our experience. And a lot of it is about some of our audience members and people seeing themselves in the stories and the lives that we're sharing today, right? And that can be very healing and very accompanying in struggle and in difficult times. I want to talk to Selena about the importance of chosen family and how should people identify who might be a candidate for chosen family.
Well, my chosen family actually is my family. I know that I didn't get the chance to talk about like my family history, but my family actually completely cut me off when I started working in the industry. I knew in college that I did not want to be a music teacher. I did not want to be anything in the music industry because it wasn't my passion. And so um when I started changing career goals and working at a sex store, then becoming a sex educator, now sex therapist, all that stuff, and working as a in camming, my family was like, oh, anything with sex toys or whatever, goodbye. And so in college, I got 6 friends, and they have been the most absolute biggest supporters of my life. Every time I go to Exotica, they're like, okay, which one you're going to? What time is your seminar? We're there. You got a booth this year? You're with Tayomi? Okay, well, what are you selling? We're gonna buy it. Like my 6 friends, they're not even my friends. They actually have family member titles. I have a grandmother, I have 2 grandfathers. I only have 2 because one of them is kind of absent, like a real father, while one shows up all the time. So just a weird dynamic. I have a mom, I have a dad. They have these titles because of who they are as people. That's what their spirit reminds me of. And them, as if it wasn't for them, I would not be a sex worker. I would not be a sex therapist. I wouldn't be here today without their support. So it's very important to find your community and your crowd. And even like Lotus said, figure out what your hobbies are and find people within those hobbies, because outside of those 6 people, I have my orchestra friends. I still play the violin, I still do my typical music stuff, but I definitely choose when to hang out with them. I have my other friends who don't have titles like my 6 do. I have my people who I do yoga with, like everything that Lotus said. I have those organized groups, but that chosen family, it truly shows who's your real supporters, like who's there to actually motivate you and support you, rather than who's just there to say that they know you. Because there were some people who were like, oh yeah, I know Selena, yeah, I know Fairy, we went to college together. Boy, who are you? I don't remember you. I don't even remember taking a class with you. How do you know me? But live off the name, live off the clout, I guess is cool. So it's just cool to have like that community that you create, because you really see like who's there for the long run, who's gonna be my bridesmaids, who's gonna be my godparents to my children, like who's actually there for me, compared to who just wants to be here just to have that credit off of my name.
Ooh, well said. And here's a little reminder to everyone. When you analyze the psychology of our modern world and where they are still so hung up, there is this immense fear and aversion to this one thing called being naked publicly. It's still known as the greatest fear most people have. It's what their biggest nightmares are about. This is something that we do with pride and comfort in varying degrees. We pridefully display our sensuality and our sexuality. Therefore, I often think of us as superheroes. And if there's a Justice League out there, you need to find yours too. So do have community connections as well, because they will understand you on that superhuman mutant level that we are. There's also that side of it too. We have just enough time for one of these audience questions, and it is a really interesting one, and everyone's going to answer this. I cannot wait. None of you have been prepped on this question. So if you need a moment to think about it, you can always say, come back to me. But the question is, what advice would you give to a family member, like a sister, who's also thinking of getting into sex work and turning to you for advice? I see a lot of eyes looking around. Demora, gosh, you're nodding. It's giving me some confidence here. Demora, would you like to take this?
My sister-in-law actually started doing camming and stuff. And so this is right in my wheelhouse. Well, she actually started wanting to do breast expansion. And I'm like, okay, we can do this, but you know, these are things like you need to have your boundaries. You need to have, your your red tape. You need to I'm willing to help you as long as you're doing it safe. And like she asks me questions all the time and I'm like, that is not something you should do. You should not do that. Or, yeah, absolutely. And if I can help you, let me know. Like, sometimes they use her and her boyfriend, like, use our lights and use our mics and things like that. So, yeah, that is actually just stay true to yourself. I tell her, stay true to yourself. You can have hard boundaries, you can have soft boundaries because like I don't show below the belt. I don't have other sexual fluid swap anything with other people. Like those are my hard boundaries. I just recently, well, not just recently, I started doing, well, getting tied at Exotica. That's my good job thing, you know. Um, but we're going to start learning it. That was something that I didn't know if I would like. That was a soft boundary, but now I'm like, I do enjoy this. So there's a difference between hard boundaries and soft boundaries. Don't do anything for a comma. Like to cross your boundaries, McDonald's is always hiring. You're just not going to like your job as much. Like, do not give up who you are, your dignity, your self respect, and your boundaries in order to make a comma. That's the best I can do to help with that one.
It sounds like reassessing boundaries is another is a theme, right? You're going to be reassessing your boundaries along the way of this journey, so expect that. Lotus, talk to us about maybe equipping or advising a family member who's showing interest in getting into this business.
Yeah, I think I did have one of my aunts sign up on OnlyFans with my referral code. Um, you have to set boundaries with them too, because she was trying to show me pictures for approval, and I was like, ma'am, that is for your fans to see and figure out. They will let you know if you like it or not. So definitely that with the older generation trying to dip their toes in because we all know sex work has no age limit on it. So with that said, I think for me, honestly, even the way OnlyFans is, and we know how fans is, you have to also market it. And if you're not like an entity, it's going to be harder. And I wouldn't even know how to tell a normal person how to market themselves. So these are the advice I would give. I would say just try being a cam model. See if you even like being on display like that. See if you like and not like because you're not going to like all these damn messages, but how do you like how you handle these messages? Can you handle it? Do you like the way it feels at the end of the day when you have X amount of money that you made or negative X amount of money that you didn't reach your goal on? How do you feel with that? Because taking this on the way people think, it's not like a freaking news story, OnlyFans millionaire story. It's regular life. It's regular work. Outside of feeling super sexy and having to project that. But yeah, I would really caution people about the load because I think people aren't aware of the workload. They think, oh, I can just take off my socks and show some pics and the money starts rolling in. They don't take into account all of the heavy lifting with continuously messaging your fans and continuously taking new photos and videos from different angles to keep them engaged. And then once you have that all booked or, in your tank, you have to market it and promote it. And do you have that in your tank? Because if you think you're just going to like pick and post like Rude Awakening, you just exposed yourself for nothing. But yeah, I would just really give them the real rundown of how it is. And honestly, I wouldn't suggest anyone just jump into adult industry performing porn like right away. I think you should definitely take the gradual steps of whether it's direct to fan sites, camming, even going to conventions first before you really do this to understand the industry, to meet other performers and creators, to see them as humans. Um, and to see the amount of industry that goes into this because I think a lot of people still just think of it as this little side project you could do. And it could be that, but the side project also takes a lot of work to make it fruitful.
I love that idea of introducing them to that full scope of what this really is, what it's
Yeah.
really going to take. They need that illusion and that myth busting, challenged oftentimes because there is so many
Yeah.
for people that are outside of this work. Reagan, from yourself, what advice would you give to a family member considering stepping into this industry?
Well, actually, both of my daughters have reached out and asked, how would I feel if they did this? And most recently, my youngest said, what if I just went into becoming like a bottle service girl? Okay, no, it's really not something I would honestly want my children to do. However, having that experience, in bottle service work is the start in my mind, hey, do you have an OnlyFans? It's just the start of the process. So I think for new people coming in, I would always tell them, protect your identity. You gotta have a PO box. You gotta really don't give your phone number out. Have a special phone number if that's what you're gonna do. But also too, if my children wanted to do this, I would say, let me help you. Absolutely. I want to help you run it. I'm going to start from the get-go. We're going to get you all ready to go. And you should start with camming. And I tell every young girl that's coming in and they say, how do I get to your level where you are? You start by camming. You start by getting to know the base that's out there and you build your base on the cam world. And that is how you project through. Even now, having started, and now it's 2024, I still have people from my early 2010, 2011 days. And that is so important when you're out there trying to make a name for yourself out there. And so I would tell anyone, protect your identity and start with camming for sure.
Great advice. Selena, close it out for us, my friend. How would you advise a family member looking to get into this?
I have three questions that I usually ask people. The first one is, are you a social salesperson? Because you have to be able to, like Lotus said, market yourself and sell yourself, but you also have to be social. You don't want to just be on whatever, Twitter, and say, oh, buy my content, buy my content, buy my content, but you're not responding to other people. You're not tweeting other people. You're not retweeting other people. You're not commenting on other people. You're not following other creators like you or even creators that are quote unquote above you. You're not socializing with them. So it's not smart to just be like, oh, I can do this all by myself, blah, 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 blah. But you're not showing respect to the others that are in this industry that has been doing it and that kind of basically set the groundwork for you to get in the position that you're in today. So are you a social salesperson? Is the first question. Are you okay with slow money? We all can be a witness that some weeks, some months, that money was looking real skimpy. So if you are okay with having slow weeks, slow month, having slow money, then cool. And following the slow money, what is your savings plan? Because with having slow money at some moments, what are you also investing in? Because you can't just, well, I don't want to say that you can't. I don't think that is smart to just solely invest in your sex worker image. It's smart to, once you get that money, invest in other things so that way when you do have slow money from your sex work side, you still have money coming from investing. You have a product that you created and now you're getting residual income from your candles, your soaps, um your panties. What are some other things that you can sell on top of you being a sex worker? So that way you're not only creating the image for your sex worker name, but you're also creating an image for just you as a brand, you as an icon, as a mogul, as a whatever. So yeah, those are my three questions. Are you a good sales social person? Are you okay with slow money? And what is your savings plan?
Oh my God, the savings plan. The savings plan! Oh, isn't that just adulting 101? My goodness, thank you. Everyone today, thank you for your stories, for your all access pass to your lives. Thank you for letting us in on so much of the lived experience that you have. This has been our day 2 Pineapple Support Mental Health Summit. Family relationships was the topic. I'm going to have all of our panelists let us know any websites of where to stay connected with them or continue the conversation. Let's kick it off with Reagan.
Oh, you can find me on X at the Reagan Foxx, probably the best place. I could say OnlyFans, which is onlyfox.com, but I think the best place to carry on a conversation like this would be X. So the Reagan Foxx.
Awesome. Lotus.
Hey, I'm on Blue Sky. It's Lotus Lane. Also on X, it's Lotus Lane. On Instagram, super PG, IC.Lotus. So ICY.Lotus. Yeah, and you could kind of think of it as like, I see why you chose Lotus.
I dig it. Demora.
Moving the mouse back. The easiest way is demoraavarice.com. It's got all my links on there. I sometimes the message request is just an abyss, but I do try to respond back to the comments that people make, like on on the feed and such. So that would be the quickest and easiest way.
Awesome. And Selena, where can we reach you?
Okay, so on X, it's your erotic fairy with one Y in fairy, but on Instagram, it's your erotic fairy with two Y's. If you follow the one with the one Y, that's a scammer page. Instagram is making it very difficult to delete it. So I've just put it in the chat. So on Instagram, it's your erotic fairy with two Y's. And on X, well, honestly, if you follow me on Instagram, I have a link tree in my Instagram bio. You can find everything from there.
Amazing. Any of you interested, you can find me at thelauradesiree.com. Everything you need is there. And audience, tomorrow we are kicking it off once again, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We're diving into a discussion about professional relationships. You're going to hear from some incredible panelists. We have an expert kicking off a convo that's all about navigating the business relationships. Again, I feel like boundaries are going to come up. It's the overarching theme here of all of this, but thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for all the excitement and the sharing of these posts. Continue to spread the word that we have 2 more days of Summit, and we look forward to seeing you. So until then, everyone, you take care, and we'll see you back here on the Zoom screens tomorrow. Bye. Thank you.